Hello, second grade, and welcome to our lesson, Comparing Customary Lengths. You go, Miss McMahon, what's a customary length? Well, customary length is what we've been talking about before with inches, feet, and yards. Inches are the smallest of that. Then 12 inches make a foot, and then 3 feet make a yard, and we will get larger than a yard in the future. But for now, let's warm up our brains. What tool would you use to measure the length of a ladybug? Would you use a ruler, a yardstick, or a tape measure? Which one would make the most sense? And explain. Well, for me, I would pick a ruler because a ruler measures in inches, and I would be able to line up a ruler pretty easily to a ladybug, where a yardstick would be so big it would probably be more trouble setting that up than a ruler would be. See, I could draw a line and put my marks on it and pretend it's a ruler with 1, 2, oh, that's big, 3, 4, and I go, oh, that ladybug is 1 inch, and that's easier to see than with a yardstick. Max measured his hand with a yardstick. What other tool would have been a better choice? Now remember, a yardstick is pretty big. Yardstick is 3 rulers. So it's a total of 36 inches. And a ruler, well, it should be smaller because it's a third of it. A ruler's a little smaller. If you were measuring your hand, which one would you want to use? So I'm going to say this is about the size of a hand. It would be trickier to use a yardstick because it's way too big. A ruler makes much more sense. Sydney measured the length of her house with an inch ruler. What other tool would have been a better choice? So again, we have our yardstick, our ruler, and then there's a tape measure, which kind of looks like this, and it sticks out, but you can extend it pretty far. I think it's the length of 3 yardsticks. But if she's measuring a house is huge, and she has a tiny ruler to measure the length, I'd say either a tape measure or a yardstick would be a better tool than the ruler. You would need a ton of rulers, or you would be going around forever counting that. Nina is making a pair of pants. Which tool should she use to measure the fabric? Well, first, I'm going to read the choices. A thermometer, an inch ruler, a yardstick, or a hammer. Well, I think there are easily 2 we could cross off here. They have 2 really silly answers. You're not going to use a hammer to measure, or a thermometer. There's no way to... They're measuring the wrong thing with a thermometer, and a hammer, it's the wrong tool for the job. So we're between a yardstick and an inch ruler. Which one do you think? The answer is yardstick. It's a yardstick because pants are usually longer than 12 inches. A person, when you think about it, like for me, I'm 5 feet 6 inches. I would need 5 rulers well, that's my whole length. I guess my legs would be about 3 feet. And we know that a yardstick is 3 feet. So that's probably easier for measuring the length of your legs to make pants. It says, how can you compare the length of 2 objects? Well, if we're comparing 2 objects, like I have a baseball versus a basketball, I want to line them up to be in the same spot. So they start at the same spot. Let's see, a baseball looks kind of like that. And then a basketball, what does a basketball look like? Ooh, that's my best try. But when you're measuring, you want them to line up at the same starting spot so you can see how large it is. So it looks like the basketball here is 1, 2, 3, 4 inches, and the baseball is 1, 2.5. For now, we're going to round down and say 2. We want to compare. Comparing usually means subtracting. So we take the larger object and subtract how large the size of the smaller object, and that will give you the length. Not the length of the other object, but the difference. So we would say the basketball is 2 inches longer than the baseball, or the baseball is 2 inches shorter than the basketball. So we're going to see this more in some of our problems. Well, you're going to find a book, you're going to measure the length of the cover, and then measure the width of the cover. So I'm going to show you the length and the width. Length is how tall something is. So when it asks you to measure length, it's how tall it is. Think about something being long, like a long string bean, and then width, something, how wide something is, will usually be, like for here, the width is the flat bottom part of the book. So width. I think it's easier to find the width as a horizontal line and the length as a vertical line. So I have a book here at home. I'm going to measure it, and my book cover is 8 inches in length and 5 inches in width. It wants to know the length of the book cover is inches. So we're going to look here for length. The length of the book cover is 8 inches long. Let's look at this one. This is one of those problems where we have a lot of information. So we're going to have to underline or highlight to help pull out. It says, Maura, Jordan, and Kelly are riding in canoes. Maura's canoe is 15 feet long. Jordan's canoe is 11 feet long. Kelly's canoe is 17 feet long. Compare the sentences below using measurements and the words longer or shorter to compare. So it wants us to compare all these friends' canoes. I think the easiest thing to do to start off is to maybe draw them out. I'm going to start with the longest one. Kelly has the longest one. Put K for Kelly, and I'm going to draw hers, and it's 17 feet long. Then the second longest one is Maura. So I'm going to line it up. It's a little bit shorter, 15 feet. We'll put M for Maura. And then we have Jordan. Jordan's is the shortest, being 11 feet. I put them in order from longest to shortest, and I think that'll help us. Now when we're comparing lengths, we're going to need to subtract. It says Maura's canoe is feet, than Kelly. So Maura and Kelly. Well, first we know that Maura's is shorter than Kelly's, so we know what goes in this one already. It's shorter. But how many feet shorter? Well, we take the larger amount, 17, and subtract it from the shorter amount, 15. Maura's canoe is 2 feet shorter than Kelly's. Kelly's canoe is feet than Jordan's. Well, Kelly and Jordan. Kelly's is longer than Jordan's for sure. So we already know that Kelly's canoe is longer. Having the pictures drawn out on the side really helps you visualize how you're going to work out these problems because you can see it. And it's not art class, so I didn't draw a full canoe, but I did draw lines, which really help. Kelly's canoe is the larger amount for 17 feet. Jordan's is 11. And we just need to subtract. Kelly's canoe is 6 feet longer than Jordan's. Now the last one, Jordan's canoe is feet than Maura's canoe. So Maura's here, Jordan's here. Jordan's canoe is for sure smaller, so we're going to say it's shorter, and we're going to subtract the lengths. The longer length is 15, that always goes on top. The shorter length is here, 5. Looks like Jordan's canoe is 4 feet shorter than Maura's. This is something where I recommend when you solve these problems, underline the important information, draw a picture, and then solve the problems. That's an important order to remember when solving those larger word problems. So for today's Explore and Explain page, you get to find 2 objects at home and can compare the lengths. Explain which object is shorter and which is longer. I went ahead and I have my Kindle that I read on, so I measured my Kindle today, and I measured it next to, I'm going to write K for Kindle on it, and I measured it next to my coffee cup. And I did the length, so my coffee cup was standing up. And I measured them next to a ruler, and see, I had them start at the same spot. This is just a picture of what it looked like, but my Kindle was about 6 inches, and my coffee mug's length was about 4 inches. Ignore this ruler because it didn't really line up with how the actual amounts were. But if I wanted to say, I would say the Kindle is 2 inches longer than the cup, because 6 minus 4 equals 2. I can't wait to see the measurements you have of your objects. You can compare lengths of objects. We have a baseball bat and a golf club. The baseball bat is 33 inches. The golf club is 31 inches. So we know all this important information. The baseball bat, 33 inches long. The golf club, 31 inches long. So the golf club is 2 inches shorter than the bat. If we flipped it around, we would say the baseball bat is 2 inches longer than the golf club. Remember, if you switch up which object is first, make sure you're paying attention if you're saying shorter or longer. Today's math, you're going to find these objects, or as close to these objects as you can, to measure. If you don't have a board at home, you can go ahead and cross off those ones and skip it. Ones that have objects that you might not have, you can skip, but really try your best to find objects that are similar so you can compare the lengths. All right, you guys, good luck. I believe in you, and I will see you next time.